Hi, this is Nathan from Serious Geeks, and I just wanted to say, first video back, hello everyone. I know the past year has been very difficult, but hopefully 2021 will be a year full of renewal and optimism. And on that note, that leads me quite nicely onto the topic of this discussion. The Warhammer Community website has revealed a little bit more information on the new game they're going to be working on for Warhammer the Old World. I know that I focus predominantly on 40k in this YouTube channel, and many of you might not be that interested in Warhammer the Old World, Warhammer Fantasy, or games like that. But for me, people who know me, I love it. I've always been a big fan of Warhammer Fantasy, and I got into High Elves in the past. I'm an Ultramarines player, of course I got into High Elves, and I'm also a Necrons player, so I got into Tomb Kings as well. So I was a very big fan of Warhammer Fantasy. I've had some great games of it. I love the magic phase. I love all that sword and sorcery stuff. So seeing new information being released is actually a really big deal for me. A lot of people were a little bit disappointed with the information they've given because it is very sparse on the details, but I see a lot of in-betweens information here that we can extrapolate and get a bit optimistic about. Now, previously, Games Workshop have stated that they want Warhammer the Old World to be to Age of Sigmar what Horus Heresy is to 40k. And then the information they released was several factions of the Empire all vying for power. Now this got a lot of people on the internet talking and speculating that perhaps it's going to be a game which uses common models and themes centered on the Empire, human factions, and have no other real factions involved, and it's just going to be like that, a civil war essentially, which a lot of people were very disappointed with, myself included. This new map that they've released, and some of the factions they've talked about within the video, shows that Games Workshop are actually moving forward with a more further enhanced version of Warhammer Fantasy. The Old World is clearly going to have orcs, wood elves, Bretonnians, high elves, and empire in it. These are factions that Games Workshop are fleshing out for this particular conflict zone. And you can see as well that instead of it being the entire world, they're going into a lot of detail on this particular area. So they're probably going to focus on this area like they did with Horus Heresy, focusing on particular war zones to get people a theme and narrative for that particular game period and what they're going to be doing. So I think that's what they're going to be doing with Warhammer the Old World. I think they'll have a civil war backdrop for the Empire, have several factions within, and then you can play several other factions such as orcs, Bretonnians, wood elves, and high elves that were detailed. There might also be other armies that are detailed. I mean, you can't imagine Chaos not being in because they're one of Games Workshop's big things. Skaven as well. Intellectually speaking, their IP ownership of Skaven is quite total, so they are a safe faction to get involved with. So I'm actually kind of confident now, whereas before I was a bit worried, that we're going to see a more fleshed out Warhammer Fantasy, which to me is only going to be good news. Although there's no information involved within this article that Warhammer Community have actually given us, there is a lot of speculation of what kind of format the game will be. We know it's going to have square bases because they've told us that. They've showed us the time for squares coming back and all that lot. So it's a really good thing. But also, what size game is it going to be? Is it going to be 28mm heroic, 34mm, 32, or is it going to be smaller? And a lot of speculation is that it will be smaller, like 15mm. Now, that's pure speculation, but I actually think that Games Workshop could do quite well if they did reduce the size of the game to be 15mm. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, but I want my models to be, centerpieces, etc. It's like, well, this is a massed combat game. You're going to have 30, 40 models in a single unit and have several of those units across the board. It's prohibitively expensive and difficult to paint and model and actually get into. So as such, you need a smaller scale just so that you can actually get into the game affordably and within a decent time frame. I mean, who wants to paint 150 Skaven slaves and only have 150 points on the table when you've got a 2,000 point game? It's just not practical. So a smaller scale means you will actually be able to have more models on the table for the same amount of price, and it will be so much quicker to paint. So I'm actually all for that as well. I mean, that's pretty much all the information we've got on the Old World. I look forward to having some more. I'm sure that we're going to get some more in the next couple of months. Well, I hope so. Even perhaps some more steals of other factions involved. Vampire counts have got to come back. They're a big part of the Empire storyline anyway. You know, their undead are very iconic in a fantasy setting, so hopefully we will see some more fleshed out sort of colour schemes and models and concepts and art, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we're still a long way for this game being finished, but I think people like myself are very excited about it. Anyway, that's pretty much all I can talk about with this subject, so I'll get back to you guys soon with another video. I'm going to start getting back on it now. This is my first video back for the new year. Thank you all for supporting me for so long. Thank you for being patient. I mean, Christmas and New Year was always going to be a delay for a lot of people. There's a lot of busy stuff going on. Lives have been changed upside down, myself included, and work's been an absolute nightmare. So I'm happy to be back to normal, and I hope to speak to you all soon. See you on the channel, and peace out.